Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving straight into the absolute visionary journey of Ada Lovelace. This is a woman who, no joke, fundamentally altered the trajectory of human history. We're going to break down exactly how she conceptualized the world's very first published computer program, a whole century before the hardware to even run it existed. So, think about this for a second. How do you program a computer that literally doesn't exist? I mean, try to imagine writing a complex sequence of instructions for a machine nearly 200 years before the first modern computer was even invented. Conceptualizing software without any hardware? It sounds like an impossible paradox, right? Well, let's set the scene. Back in the early 1800s, all the stuff we take for granted, electricity, screens, basic circuitry, totally absent. No screens, no keyboards, no electricity. Yet, somehow, without a single one of these modern tools, she was already mentally paving the highways for our digital age. It's just wild. Section 1. The Impossible Programmer. Born in London, 1815. Born into an era with very few opportunities for women in science, Ada's upbringing was, well, highly unusual. You see, she was the daughter of the wildly famous poet Lord Byron. But instead of letting her get swept up in his world of romantic poetry, her mother insisted on an education totally rooted in logical mathematics. And it was that early, rigorous exposure to strict logic that really fostered her unique, genius-level analytical mindset. Section 2. Meeting Charles Babbage, a massive turning point. When a young Ada actually met the prominent mathematician Charles Babbage, he was working on designing this massive machine he called the analytical engine. Now, unlike the basic, clunky calculators of the time that were just built for single, specific math problems, the analytical engine was something else entirely. It was the world's very first design for a general-purpose computer. It was built to follow instructions and perform all sorts of different calculations. And Ada? She instantly grasped its revolutionary potential. Section 3. The first computer program. History is made in 1843. All right, let's jump to 1843. Ada takes on this task of translating a French article, all about the analytical engine. But, she didn't just translate it. Step 1 was the translation, sure. But step 2, she added her own extensive notes, which actually ended up being longer than the original article. And then, step 3, within those notes, she wrote out this highly detailed sequence of instructions for how the machine could calculate a complex series of values known as Bernoulli numbers. She conceptualized loops and conditional branching logic, stuff that even Babbage himself had totally missed. And because of this step-by-step logic, this is widely recognized today as the very first published computer program. But there's kind of a tragic reality to this incredible breakthrough. The machine itself was never completed, and because of that, the program was never run. She never actually got to see her code executed during her lifetime. But the theoretical foundation, the whole idea of providing a machine with a sequence of logical, branching instructions, was officially out there in the world. Section 4. Predicting the Digital Age. Seeing Beyond Numbers. This is where things get truly mind-blowing. While most people looked at Babbage's machine and just saw a giant metal number cruncher, Ada's imagination went so much further. She theorized that if a machine could manipulate numbers, and if those numbers could represent other things, well, the possibilities were literally limitless. She envisioned that computers might one day create music, generate art, render graphics, and manipulate symbols. She basically conceptualized a media-generating general-purpose computer over a century before it became a reality. To put that into perspective, a staggering 180 years passed between Ada Lovelace's bold predictions and the reality of the digital world we live in today. I mean, from streaming music on your phone to generating digital art with AI, modern computers are doing exactly what she predicted back in the 1840s. Section 5. A Legacy Rediscovered. Why wasn't she famous? So you might be wondering, why wasn't she famous right away? Well, during her lifetime, her work actually received very little public attention. She was born in London in 1815, publishes that first program in 1843, but sadly dies largely unrecognized in 1852. Because the engine was never built, her brilliant notes just kind of gathered dust. It really wasn't until the mid-20th century, when electronic computing finally became a thing, that researchers rediscovered her work. And that's when everyone realized, wow, she was impossibly far ahead of her time. Thankfully, today she is celebrated globally as an absolute pioneer of computer science. Just to show you how big of a deal she is, the U.S. Department of Defense even named a highly secure programming language, Ada, right in her honor. It's a fitting tribute to someone who proved that computing could go way beyond basic math and actually transform human life. So here's the big takeaway. We are quite literally living in the future Ada Lovelace imagined. The next time you use your smartphone or play a video game or prompt an AI, I want you to remember that you are holding the direct realization of a daydream a mathematician had in 1843. It's incredible, right? And it leaves us with a pretty massive question. If one woman could accurately conceptualize the technology of the 2020s nearly 2 centuries ago, what impossible ideas are being dreamed up right now that will completely define our reality 200 years from today? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.